In this Podslice summary of the Diary of a CEO podcast, host Stephen Bartlett and dating scientist Logan Ury discussed a multitude of relationship topics. Ury from Harvard uses a data-driven approach to address romantic relationships and has identified 3 key dating tendencies: the spark, the post-date 8, and 3 dating patterns that hinder people from finding love. The idea behind the spark is that it can lead to relationships that quickly burn out due to its uncertain and volatile nature. To prevent this, Ury developed 8 questions, known as the post-date 8, to be asked after a date to help individuals think more systematically about their potential partner. The third part of her framework involves 3 dating tendencies that could inhibit an individual from finding love. She highlighted that people in successful relationships tend to make good choices and are very rarely with the person they initially thought they should be. Ury also suggested that people often confuse pet peeves or minor annoyances with substantial deal breakers. In the realm of dating apps, Ury discussed her work at Hinge, where she conducts research and facilitates dating coaching to better the user experience. The ultimate goal of Hinge is to help people find love and get off the app, contrary to Bartlett's skepticism regarding the sincerity of dating apps' goal of pairing people. With their personal lives as context, Bartlett and Ury dug deeper into attachment theory. Ury explains the pattern of individuals being anxiously attached, avoidantly attached, or securely attached from observations made during her work and personal experiences. Anxiously attached individuals constantly fear abandonment, whereas avoidantly attached individuals steer clear of getting too close in fear of being smothered. Securely attached individuals display both traits of wanting closeness but also craving independence. Ury concluded this section by highlighting how understanding attachment theory can be pivotal for people who find themselves stuck in their love lives, a testament to the significance of her work in using data and behavioral science to coach people towards finding love. Bartlett and Ury dive deeper into the concept of attachment styles by discussing Bartlett's personal experiences. As Bartlett shares his own evolution from being an avoidantly attached individual due to his upbringing, he identifies his current relationship as a foundation for change. His partner, exhibiting characteristics of both secure and anxious attachment, has nudged him out of his avoidance cycle, although it can still be triggered at times. As they explore these instances, Ury provides some advice for avoidant individuals who often struggle with intense fears of entanglement and intrusion. She stresses the importance of being clear about one's needs and not relying on others to read their minds or interpret their actions. To override the negativity bias, an innate tendency to focus on negatives over positives, she encourages focusing on good qualities in the partner, even if it means making a conscious effort. Ury relates the bias to her client, who ended a potential relationship over the date's wardrobe choice, which she deemed was merely an unconscious excuse to avoid intimacy. This led Ury to highlight how dynamics play out in relationships, particularly when a person assumes that a rejection implies the other party being superior or better. This mindset often results in the rejected individual feeling compelled to regain power, which they believe they can achieve by winning back the interest of the rejecter. Relating this to B.F. Skinner's pigeon experiment, Ury correlates people's addiction to unreliable partners to the excitement of an uncertain reward. This unpredictable partial reward schedule creates a cycle where individuals are hooked on the uncertainty, likening it to how slot machines and gambling work. Hence, individuals become entrapped in unhealthy cycles, mistaking what should ideally be a constant, stable interest as boring and a fluctuating, unstable interest as exciting. Ury asserts that this mindset is incompatible with long-term relationship success. Finally, a glimpse into Bartlett's personal life illustrates how these theories play out in a real-life context. With a girlfriend who combines elements of secure and anxious attachment, Bartlett grapples with triggering moments that resurrect his avoidant tendencies. The discussion illustrates the intricate dynamics at play and underlies the importance of awareness and understanding in maintaining successful relationships. In the thick of tackling attachment styles and their dynamics, Ury and Bartlett deep dive into the intriguing concept of the anxious avoidant loop that is a defining aspect of their conversation. Bartlett, framed as the avoidant individual in his relationship, details instances of mounting tension, suggestive of a fight-flight response stimulated by feelings of being trapped. His initial instinct is to leave to avoid confrontation and potential entrapment, while his girlfriend, portrayed as the anxious individual, strives to resolve the issue and reattach. Ury elaborates on the emotional turmoil underpinning this interaction, unpicking how stress hormones like cortisol send the brain into a fight or flight mode and suggesting ways to regulate such emotional disturbances. She believes that taking a break, distracting oneself, and refraining from jumping to conclusions without proper evidence are key to conserving a healthy relationship. This segment showcases actual indulgence in these strategies, as Bartlett painstakingly recounts the uncertain phase of separation from his girlfriend and their eventual reunion. Shifting focus to the concept of disconfirming evidence, Ury underscores the detrimental impact of overthinking, which is a common feature of anxious attachment. She convinces anxious individuals to consider alternative explanations for apparent triggers, rather than automatically attributing them to negative notions and sparking unnecessary conflict. Drawn into the discussion on relationship dynamics is the secretary problem from the book Algorithms to Live By. This model recommends dating for a certain period, identifying the best person during that time as the benchmark, and then continuing to date till you find someone better than that benchmark. In the context of Bartlett's story, he recognized his girlfriend as his benchmark, reflected on the single status of his life post the breakup, and decided to reconnect. Ury elaborates on the importance of this decision, emphasizing how many keep looking for the perfect partner, overlooking that building a great relationship often involves working with someone great. Intertwining behavioral science theory and personal experiences, this discussion unravels deep-seated patterns and paths to making different choices, pivotal to achieving different and more desirable outcomes. It's a fascinating exploration of the intricate dance between our past, current behaviors, and future relationship success. Ury deepens her exploration of the anxious attachment style, detailing the patterns of behavior exhibited by those who are anxiously attached. They experience something she calls activating strategies, which are spiraling thoughts about the abandonment of their partner. This fear is so deeply embedded that they engage in counterproductive protest behaviors, such as incessant texting or voicemails. In their fear of abandonment, they ironically end up withdrawing themselves, a punishing behavior that's akin to shooting themselves in the foot. Ury then presents a series of effective strategies to counter these behaviors. They hinge on distracting oneself, connecting with others, and not falling prey to overthinking, particularly trying to wear the robes of a judge and jury and prematurely coming to conclusions in their head. An integral part of maintaining mental stability is not being enslaved to the ticking of the reply clock, urging anxiously attached individuals not to obsess over delayed replies. Connecting to Bartlett's anecdote about giving harsh advice to his friend stuck in the throes of being ghosted, Ury brings the focus to the fact that people indeed do what they want to. If they are interested, they will put in effort. If they are not, they won't. This is a harsh reality to face, but makes it essential for individuals to prioritize themselves and ensure reciprocity in relationships. One cannot muster a relationship into existence through sheer will, and it shouldn't have to be that way. The problem often lies in one's inability to gauge digital body language, that is, misreading cues in the digital medium of communication from text messages to social media behavior, which form the precursor to in-person interaction in this day and age. Continuing in this vein, an interesting turn of phrase introduced by Ury is the ick, which essentially categorizes the nagging feeling of sudden disinterest in someone, often kicked off by a relatively insignificant detail. Ury notes how this ick is often used as an excuse to avoid potential intimacy, and confuses minor pet peeves with deal breakers. This rejection of someone based on insignificant details often deprives individuals of potential meaningful connections. It becomes essential to differentiate between what is merely annoying and what unintentionally becomes a substantial relationship roadblock, fundamentally incompatible with an individual's life, such as health issues. In the context of dating, the increasing trend of using dating apps and similar platforms often leads to superficial judgments and snap rejections, which could be potentially avoidable if people allowed themselves to get to know each other on a deeper level before making any decisions relating to compatibility. This crucial differentiation between serious incompatibilities and minor annoyances can be a defining factor in shaping a successful relationship. In a situation like Bartlett's friends, it was a classic case of making mountains out of molehills, over-focusing on details rather than the bigger picture. This pivotal lesson can significantly impact the overall discourse of modern dating if one embraces it. During the podcast, Ury cracks open the concept of dating tendencies, dividing them into three categories: the romantic, the maximizer, and the hesitant. Those identified as romantics hold unrealistic expectations about relationships, yearning for a fairy tale-like connection and distrusting initial bumps. Maximizers, on the other hand, hold unrealistic expectations about their potential partner. They believe that the perfect person is just a search away and become stuck in constant searching mode, hoping to find an amalgamation of all their ex's best qualities. The hesitant, however, set unrealistic expectations for themselves. These individuals believe they cannot date until they are perfect, resulting in a stalled dating life. Ury's approach encourages the matching of stated dating tendencies with the kind of dates individuals go on. She advocates for changing the environment to suit your personality and style better, making the interaction enjoyable and more conducive to a genuine connection. She emphasizes the importance of a flirtatious, romantic environment. She throws light on the mechanisms of a successful date, advising individuals to display parts of their personality that they want their dates to perceive. She suggests planning dates with activities that align with their personalities and sense of fun. It could be an evening of stand-up comedy, a game of ping pong, or simply a role-playing exercise that brings out a flirtatious, relaxed side. Ury dives further into the topic of maintaining a fun persona, understanding that this becomes difficult as people grow older, especially when they have a set goal in their minds, like finding a spouse. However, this attitude can end up sounding transactional to the other party, which is counterproductive. Ury advises taking a break from dating if one cannot shake off this serious, goal-oriented approach. She reinforces the idea to date like a scientist, suggesting a change in dating habits, environments, and pushing for an open mind. For instance, if women are setting dating app filters for guys over 6 feet, they may need to reconsider this as it limits their options and can hinder them from meeting potential matches. Furthermore, she advises against bringing technology to dates. Even the mere presence of a phone on a table can cause conversations to remain shallow, as it indicates an impending interruption. Here, she refers to research by MIT professor Sherry Turkle. Ury also highlights the trend of individuals engaging in sober dating. More people are opting to experience their dates in a completely sober state, staying clear from the influence of alcohol. The podcast continues with Ury emphasizing the detrimental impact phones have on interpersonal connection. She offers practical tips to maintain good phone hygiene and keeping the focus on each other during dates. Ury then delves into the topic of small talk versus deep conversation. She encourages people to skip the small talk and focus instead on sharing emotionally vulnerable stories that reveal their genuine selves. Shifting gears from facts to stories, for instance, can help individuals open up about their fears, dreams, and realities in a stimulating deep conversation. Particular elements of conversation, such as shared vulnerabilities, effectively build bridges between entities, leading to more meaningful relationships. Ury discusses the pressure individuals feel to portray a deceptive facade of perfection due to societal expectations. She turns this widely accepted notion on its head, promoting the belief that people are drawn to someone real because it allows them to be real too. The host, Stephen Bartlett, adds his own experiences with vulnerability, revealing how his insecurities initially made him hide his weaknesses. But as he grew more secure in himself, he began sharing his faults and received unexpected positive responses, achieving stronger connections with others as a result. Logan elaborates on the echo people commonly express: "If you really knew me, you would reject me." She argues that sharing vulnerabilities could actually deepen relationships, even though this notion contradicts societal expectations. She echoes Bartlett's sentiments by saying this level of authenticity encourages others to be themselves. They share a new mantra of connection. If you knew me, you'd feel closer and we'd have a deeper connection. The interview highlights the illusion men that often carry, believing they need to maintain a perfect and unflinching facade to be seen as strong men. The reality is, opening up and sharing feelings, including fears and doubts, can strengthen relationships rather than weaken them. Ury and Bartlett conclude that the key to authentic relationships lies in the simple but courage-requiring act of being vulnerable and genuinely sharing stories that reflect our true selves, complete with imperfections and frailties, enabling a deeper bond and connection with others. In this part of the podcast, Logan Ury brings up the idea of relation shopping, where individuals tend to shop for their romantic partners as if they were choosing a pair of jeans or shoes, looking for particular physical attributes or specific social markers. However, she explains that this approach is fundamentally flawed, pointing out that relationships work better when both parties bring out the best in each other, instead of matching a pre-decided checklist. She talks about the importance of the attitudes and feelings that two people create together. She mentions a concept she calls the post-date 8. 8 reflective questions to ask yourself after a date. These questions focus more on the emotional and experiential side of a date rather than physical or social traits. These questions encourage a mindful consideration of the self and interpersonal dynamics, painting a more accurate picture of compatibility, bringing us closer to true connection rather than the superficial spark attraction. Stephen Bartlett and Logan Ury discuss the misconceptions people have about dating and relationships, focusing on the importance of recognizing that looks, wealth, and shared interests are less significant in determining long-term happiness than many people think. Both agree that adapting to circumstances is an underappreciated source of happiness and authenticity in a relationship. Discussing misconceptions, Logan Ury states that individuals often overemphasize looks and money, suggesting instead that true attraction and economic comfort are crucial, not the superficial extremes of beauty standards and wealth. She points out that humans adapt to situations and circumstances, and focusing on these ephemeral traits can lead to dissatisfaction and disappointment. Furthermore, shared interests and similar personalities aren't as crucial as many believe. What's more important is mutual respect and curiosity in each other's interests. Logan presents the idea of complementing each other's personalities as a more substantial foundation for long-term relationships. Here, the conversation emphasizes the importance of being different yet supportive, bringing out the best in each other rather than simply mirroring traits and interests. This way, individuals can grow with each other, building a complex, satisfying relationship rather than simply fitting into a predefined mold. Through these discussions, the focus repeatedly shifts back to authenticity, the importance of being real with each other, sans the polishing filters of societal expectations. It is seen as an influential factor that should not be overlooked in the pursuit of meaningful relationships. In this stage of the podcast, Logan Ury delves into key traits for relationship success. She cites kindness, loyalty, and emotional stability as fundamental traits, emphasizing that these might seem simple but are somewhat lacking. Having somebody who treats you with kindness, shows compassion, and is loyal helps build strong foundations. Logan also adds the ability to make tough decisions together, fight well, and bring out the best in one another as critical. She interestingly highlights the importance of having conflicts, equating the absence of arguments to an absence of sex in a relationship. According to her, not having arguments could indicate that couples are not getting real, and thereby they aren't truly exploring the depths of their relationship. Escaping from conflicts or avoiding them completely could lead to assumptions and unspoken friction. She elucidates the concept of deciding versus sliding through life milestones. While deciding involves having intentional conversations before moving on to the next stages of a relationship, sliding relates to transitioning through these stages without necessarily thinking they through. Ury emphasizes the importance of having explicit conversations about life goals and plans, thus making the unconscious conscious. On the topic of dating apps, Ury speaks positively, highlighting how they have widened the dating market, especially for minority groups. While acknowledging some of the criticisms around dating apps, she puts forth that many of the issues raised, such as non-physical or socio-economic factors, relate more to broader issues that could also affect offline dating. Ury shares some data-backed tips for creating an effective dating app profile. She suggests starting with a clear headshot, accompanied by photos of the person indulging in a beloved activity, hanging out with friends or family, and a full-body picture. Regarding selecting prompts, she advises a mix of humor and vulnerability. Following on from their previous discussion, Bartlett and Ury discuss messages that dating profiles can unintentionally send. Bartlett mentions a friend whose dating profile feature pictures with them holding alcohol in every single shot. Ury advises that while this doesn't necessarily lead prospective matches to conclude that the person is a heavy drinker, it does present one-dimensional coverage of the individual's personality. She suggests incorporating variety in photos and details shared on the profile to ensure a well-rounded representation. Ury then provides insights on how to make an engaging and expressive dating profile. She mentions that specificity garners attention and engagement. For example, a person stating that they do not know how to ride a bike generates more interaction than generic statements. Key mistakes to avoid while creating the dating profile, as per Ury, include one-word answers, grammatical errors, and being all one flavor. It's suggested to have a mix of humor, earnestness, etc., to keep the profile stimulating. Moreover, she emphasizes reducing repetition and avoiding cliches while sharing interests and hobbies. While discussing the basic fundamentals of creating an engaging dating profile, Ury mentions that clear and positive facial expressions also significantly impact the response rate for the profile. Unfortunately, she shares that certain types of selfies are not well received, including gym selfies, smoking selfies, and continual repetition of the same environment. The conversation moves towards understanding what great sex means to Ury. She describes it as a moment where one is completely lost, transported to a different place and safe enough to fully express themselves and connect deeply with another person. Ury describes it as an experience of being fully present and thoroughly enjoying pleasure. Towards the end of this segment, Bartlett praises Ury's book, How to Not Die Alone, for the way it brilliantly encapsulates scientific principles and applies them to the field of dating and relationships. He highly recommends the book to anyone who struggles with dating or seeks a significant relationship and plans to quote Ury's wisdom extensively. Evidently touched by the praise, Ury thanked Bartlett for his compliments and the opportunity to share her work with a broad audience. Check out the full podcast by clicking the link in the description below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for listening to this podcast summary episode of The Pod Slice.